This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Y'all, just stop. Get real.
Welcome to DBL.
Hey.
Me and the fellas. I'm the broad. Welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
You said that, not us.
I'm the dame.
There we go.
Still uncomfortable.
Not good? Okay, cool. It's actually one of the biggest flashpoints in the culture wars today that we want to talk about today, and we want to get your opinion on this. Hundreds of laws, if you haven't noticed, are getting passed all across the country that opponents say target the LGBTQ plus community, and proponents say are needed to protect kids. And today we've got a few stories to talk about that highlight all of this. So up first, let's head down to Florida. They are looking to expand the controversial Don't Say Gay law. The expanded legislation would do a lot of things, including prevent any student or teacher from using preferred pronouns that do not correspond to the sex at the time of their birth. So here's the question. Does this law protect the children, the kids, or does it harm trans people who are also kids? Thoughts?
Well, lots of thoughts. I think thoughts lead first to questions like, what are we protecting the children from? Would be my question. Are we saying that if a child hears a person referred to in their preferred pronoun, that would forever damage them? Are we saying that children will hear somebody referred to by their preferred pronoun and then they will want to live that lifestyle? I guess there's these laws. I understand why they exist, and Jeff, the reason that they exist, in my opinion, is like I've always said, I don't get caught up in the emotion. I follow the money. And the only way that you can raise funds for your campaign is to get people riled up about something. And people don't care about Senate subcommittees meetings. People don't care about what you're going to do for the infrastructure bill. People want to argue about culture, and people want to argue by or for or against how they grew up. And the people that grew up in their world, there were two genders. That's the world they want to go back to and stay in. So they're going to fight fiercely for that. And when you say you fight for that, they are going to support that. So that's where I feel like this is going. I don't know if this has anything to do with kids. Nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you on the political thing. And it's hard to talk about stuff like this, right?
Yes.
We have a couple stories today, and full disclosure, it's like walking a tightrope up here. It's very difficult to say things on television now as you would just in a group setting. But everyone's having those conversations. It's just when and where is appropriate to have them. Is this all political? In my mind, it is a little bit. But they've trained the community to attack people that aren't on their political side or aren't on the same agenda. Would I say maybe the reason they're doing that in schools is because it's a distraction of some sort and they want to stick back to the curriculum? Me saying that means I'm not for trans, right? So now their political affiliates are going to attack me for not going 100% with what their script is. So it's like, is this really about the kids, like Al said? Is that about the kids? Because I would sit down with my kids and have a conversation if they were trans or someone in their school was trans and explain what was going on. I don't know if I need to pass laws against it.
That's the
I
strange
think there's
thing for
800 school shootings here, and we haven't passed any laws for that. So is this political, or is this have to do with, I don't know.
Does it have anything to do with
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Great question. Does this have anything to do with
So are you
kids?
going to listen to what I said, or are you just going to attack everything that me and Al said?
No.
You know, but I'm saying to.
I was like, not
that's
me.
how people have conversations. They don't have a conversation about what we're talking about anymore. They have a conversation about what Al and I said.
Exactly. You're right. It's not about the substance. It's just about the icing. You're absolutely right. Well, here's another story for you. A girls' high school basketball team from Vermont is in the news. They were participating in a tournament, and rather than compete against a team with a transgender player, they forfeited the game completely. They said they did it because, quote, we believe playing against an opponent with a biological male jeopardizes the fairness of the game and the safety of our players. So what do we think? Is this forfeiting the game the right thing to do for fairness? Is it not? This was a Christian school. I just want to make that clear because there's different laws with public schools that comes from funding from the government.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I do think it's fair. I do.
To forfeit the game?
Yeah.
Talk to us.
I am a big proponent of freedom of speech, but that includes speech and expression that I don't agree with, and I have to protect that. And if that doesn't fly with that school, the idea of having the government tell them they must seems not right to me. I also think this goes back to the first story. If you're Republican, and you said it, I don't know if there should be laws about it. If you're a real Republican, a conservative, you don't want government in your business. Get off of my junk. Like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? This, don't say gay, don't do preferred pronouns, all that. That's way too much government telling me what I can or cannot say. That seems anti-Republican to me. So I say you're right. Leave it up to the parents. Don't make laws about it. And also, if this Christian school doesn't want to do that, maybe don't have them in a tournament together and figure that out before that.
My question is, like, we're talking about this Christian school, but we're talking about the school as just kind of this monolith. What I see when I talk about when we're talking about high school sports, and Jeff, you played on a collegiate level, is your teammates. That you guys, I can't imagine two-a-days in the summer working out, throwing up. You're so exhausted. You make it to the season, and your college football team, which you just casually mentioned, you guys made it into the playoffs. Imagine having to cancel that because either a player on your team or a player on the opposite team was deemed to have an unfair advantage. I don't know if that's a decision that should be made by the higher-ups. I wonder if that's a decision that should be made by the kids.
And we don't know if it wasn't. We don't know. They were.
Right.
This is what they said. They were fearful. I'm not saying I agree with this. I think it's ridiculous. Of course I would play the game. But I also believe in their right to say, I don't want to do that for the safety in a contact sport for their players. They felt that was unsafe in some way or another. What I don't want is us telling everybody what to do. It should be up to sort of the states' rights, the people's rights, the parents. This is a lot of government telling us what we can or cannot do.
And also, why is this being discussed when the playoffs are here? Shouldn't this be something that's tackled at the beginning of the season?
That's what I'm saying. Why are we figuring that out?
I think this is strange.
Interesting. All right. Finally, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee said he intends to sign a controversial bill that would limit where drag shows can take place in the state. But he's coming under fire for this. These are some photos of him in high school in drag. He was recently asked about it. Here's his response.
Remember dressing in drag in 1977? Remember this?
What a ridiculous question that is. Conflating something like that to sexualized entertainment in front of children, which is a very serious subject.
Drag is not sexual.
I think the concern is what's right there in that building, children that are potentially exposed to sexualized entertainment, to obscenity, and we need to make sure that they're not. I think that's something that should happen in Tennessee, and it will because of this bill.
So is he right that these two examples of dressing in drag shouldn't be conflated, or is he being a straight-up hypocrite? And what do you think, Al?
Conflated? Conflated means that you're pulling things that really don't necessarily go together. It's a direct.
It's the exact same thing.
That's the exact same thing. It's a much different. I think he's using the wrong word there. And he did the telltale. You're caught is when you go, this is ridiculous. That's how you know that he knows that he's in some trouble. What we keep seeing, Jeff, as a reoccurring theme is it's always about protecting the kids until we start talking about school shootings, until we start talking about sending kids back to school with no vaccinations and at the time, no cure as well. So it's interesting when we feel like it's something, again, that we can get people out and get people riled up about, it's cool. But we don't want people riled up about school shootings because the NRA lines those pockets. You got to go to the Bahamas this year, remember?
I don't understand what this is. These are very controversial topics, and again, you have to pick one side or the other. And it's like, how many people out there have ever encountered a transgender person? How many people out there have ever been to a drag show?
Right.
Not many, okay?
Right.
Everyone complaining has never been there, have never seen a drag show, have never met a trans person. So why all the uproar? Politicizing.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
People are yelling at each other for no reason. They have no contact with any of these trans people or drag queens in their life ever. They've never met them. And I've met a few, and I'm very well traveled, okay?
Right.
Why are you so upset about these things like this? I don't get it. It's very politicized, and they're putting us at each other's throat
for no reason.
For that particular reason. That's it.
And may I just simply say that I find a difference in drag people in drag, and sexuality and obscenity. Those to me should not be conflated. Those are two different things in my mind. We'll be right back.
Somebody roll the clip.
Let's make sure we have Jeff's sex tape.
Wow, things are getting spicy here at DBL.
Cold-hearted snake, look into his eyes.
Let's roll that again, everybody.
We're live.
But the making of laws and calling it that is just political.
You're right that the making of laws is political, and I would take it a step further and say that, I think that when we have laws in place for drag shows and drag brunch and kids' public library hour, I think it's a bigger statement about our society that we don't know what to do in terms of the real issues, which are the violence that our kids have grown up with in school. And the only thing that we feel like we can control, which is the thing we argue about, are things that will never affect them. But I feel like everybody, whether they admit it or not, has given up with keeping our kids safe at school. We've learned to live with school shootings. I was sitting on my couch yesterday, and I saw on my screen it had the temperature. I could decide what background I wanted for my TV, and then it had the shootings for the day. It was just up there like any other thing, and it just showed me how ingrained in our world shootings are. That when my TV is like on its screen when nothing's playing, the temperature, the background, and today's mass shooting was up there. It was just its own section because every day it's a different mass shooting, and it was Oakland yesterday. We didn't even cover it. It's not even on the rundown.
Is that the other one?
But because we can't control that, we argue about what we can't control, or what we think we can control.
But do you think it's set up that way? Like, do you think that's on purpose? And that seems like a lot of strings to be pulled, but it's like
I think it's somewhat on purpose and somewhat what we've created. I mean, there's more guns than people in this country. The guns are not going away.
Welcome back to DBL. Dictionary.com is out with a bunch of new words, so we thought we would test how hip and neat we all are.
I'm ready.
Okay, see if we can guess what some of these words mean. Up first, here we go, is the word rage farming. I'm going to say it again, rage farming.
Okay, I think I have a guess.
Go for it.
I think rage farming is like you're trying to look for something to get people mad. So you're like, just like we were talking about.
Yeah, totally.
Drag
like
brunch.
growing it?
No, just like look at drag brunch, BLM, whatever, to get people, you're looking for outrage somewhere online.
Yeah.
So like you're trying to grow it
like
even
a
where
crop.
it's not.
You're
Like a crop.
planting little seeds. Did you hear what Jeff said on DBL? Did you see what Al did in that segment? You're planting little seeds to build the rage.
This is good, all right. I don't know what it is, but I go with that. Noun, it is intentionally provoking political opponents, typically by posting content on social media in order to elicit an angry response.
We nailed it.
You totally nailed it.
Yes.
Totally nailed it. So
Bring it.
Can we get a ding?
We got it.
Okay.
We don't need a pat on the
Thank
back.
you. Is the word, the next one, super dodger. And I love Dodgeball, the movie. Is that what this is? A super fan? No, I'm just kidding.
Person that will not answer a question directly.
Ooh,
Fantastic.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that's good. I'm going to stick with it.
That's very good. You're going with ask a friend. Noun, anyone who remains uninfected or asymptomatic even after repeated exposure to a contagious virus.
I would have never gotten that.
Al got it.
Yeah, thank you.
No,
Good job,
no,
Al.
you didn't.
Better. Mine's
He got
better.
it.
No,
Yeah.
this is like super immunity.
See, you're
people.
super dodging the fact that I'm
You
right.
are. He just proves his point.
He's lying. That's
2 for
not
2,
what I
Al.
said.
Yep,
The
now
word,
you're rage farming.
You know what you are? You know what you are? You're cakeist. The next word is cakeism.
Oh.
Cakeism.
I feel like that's when you're throwing money around at somebody that you're trying to date, like your little
Cakeism?
cake daddy over there.
Cake daddy?
Cake daddy.
That came out of nowhere.
No, when you're like the way I know caking is like when you're trying to like throw money around to get somebody
Oh, that's
on
like
a
a
date
for
with you.
term.
Yeah, like
Oh, caking.
How about like sweeten the deal? Like, Al, if you come out, I'll buy you dinner.
Oh.
Or like sweeten the deal.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Like the carrot and the stick. That's good. It's actually the false belief that one can enjoy the benefits of two choices that are mutually exclusive, or you can have it both ways.
That doesn't exist.
Scared me.
That
He
doesn't
like
exist
literally
at all.
scared me. Okay, this is very cool. What does the term, I hope I'm saying this right, abrosexual mean? Am I saying it right? Abrosexual.
I'm uncomfortable.
Don't tell
Here's
us.
my guess. Men that identify as cis het, right, just straight men, I feel like they have a lot of like arms around each other, you know, football game, pat on the rear end, coming back to the huddle or whatever. So it's like you're a bro, and we're close physically, but we're both straight.
I don't know if I should answer because I don't want the abros coming after me. You know what I mean?
You got to get the whole rage from it.
Asexual, like A, usually means not. So maybe a bro is someone who's scared to be with a male friend. A person whose sexual orientation is fluid or fluctuates. Abrosexual.
I don't know if you're saying that right.
Okay, coming up on DBL, we are revealing the winner of our Sandals Trip giveaway. Yes. And we're talking with the people behind two famous voices you can't forget, Siri and the TikTok text-to-speech voice, coming up next.
After the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg posted this tweet. He claims that 5 years ago, the Department of Transportation withdrew a law that would have improved the brakes on some freight trains carrying hazardous chemicals. Several Verify viewers emailed our team to ask if this is true. So, let's verify. Did the Department of Transportation repeal a train safety rule in 2018? Our sources are the Department of Transportation, the Federal Register, the National Transportation Safety Board, the Harvard University Environmental and Energy Law Program, and the Sheet, Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers, or SMART Union. Most trains around the world come to a stop using compressed air brakes in each car individually. A newer system uses electronically controlled pneumatic brakes, or ECP, to simultaneously stop the entire train together. The SMART Union says this helps trains stop up to 70% faster. In May 2015, in the wake of two high-profile derailments, the DOT released a rule requiring trains carrying highly flammable, hazardous material to install ECP brakes. But 2 years later, the DOT determined that the cost of ECP brakes outweighed their benefit, and in 2018, reversed the rule. So, yes, the Department of Transportation did repeal a train safety rule in 2018. The National Transportation Safety Board says even if this rule was still in effect, it would not have prevented the derailment in East Palestine. That train was transporting a mixture of cargo, including just 3 cars holding highly flammable hazardous material. The rule required ECP on mixed trains with more than 35 cars carrying this type of material. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. Do I sound like Siri?
No.
Okay. We hear the voices of virtual assistants on our phone all the time, but it can be hard to imagine that that's an actual person. So earlier, though, we chatted with those very people, the original voice of Siri and the voice of TikTok's text-to-speech. Check it out.
Please welcome to the show the original voice of Siri, Susan Bennett, and Kat Callahan, the voice of TikTok's text-to-speech.
That was quite the round of applause.
It was. I think because we all feel like we know them in a way.
Yeah.
Hey, Siri. Just kidding. Susan, when you, good to see you. Susan, when you originally recorded the voice for Siri, is this true? You didn't know it was for Siri.
I was told that I was just doing some generic phone messaging voices. Wow. And so 6 years later, when Siri appeared, I was quite horrified, actually.
Yes.
What? That's my voice? That's yikes. Oh so God. Yeah, it was a big surprise.
Wow. What types of things did they have you say during the recording for Siri? Do you have to say a bunch of stuff?
Well, no, it wasn't just a couple of things that I didn't have to read every different sound. I had to read 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for the month of July. And I had to read things that made no sense because they were created to get all of the sound combinations in the language. So things like, say, schist fresh issue today. Whoa. Militia oi hallucinate pukra okra ooze.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do believe I got a little brain damage from that.
They wouldn't even have picked me to do that. I would still be working on it. But Kat, you were hesitant to reveal in the first place that you were actually behind the TikTok text-to-speech voice called Jessie. How come?
Well, once you tell people, Jeff, it's you can't untell them. So there's that. And also, like, honestly, when my voice of Jessie first went on the platform, she's very happy. And some people were really taken aback. I mean, a lot of these speech to text or text to speech options were very monotone before this, right? As Susan knows very well. And I didn't do that. It was a very happy, peppy situation. And so when people saw it and heard it on TikTok, some people didn't like it, and I thought, well, maybe it'll just go away then. Maybe they're gonna like delete it from the platform, but it didn't happen, and people used it more and more. So I thought, okay, maybe they don't hate me, so I'll tell them.
I gotta tell you, it's kind of weird talking to you. It's like
a robot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love it.
What's it like getting on TikTok and hearing your voice? Kind of like we're surprised right now, and so many different people use it for their videos.
Yeah, I love freaking people out right now. It's so much fun. Yeah, you know, it's cool. I love that people choose to use it. I do, because it's resonating with people in some way. I don't know what it is, but it's the most used option on there, which means something. And to me, it probably means that people like that uplifting voice.
Yeah.
So every time I see someone use it, I'm happy. If you want to use it on your platform, please use my voice. I love it.
Okay, Susan, now I have to ask you this. You are, which is awesome, a former backup singer for Burt Bacharach. May he rest in peace. And have done voiceovers and jingles for other companies. How did Siri change your career?
Well, basically, I just became an AI person after that. As I was saying, you know, we humans like to put people in boxes. And if you do a certain thing and become known as a certain thing, that ends up being, you know, your destiny. But I did kind of turn it into another career, because I do a lot of speaker events, and I talk about the whole Siri, you know, the history and how the recordings were done. And since Siri was the first one, it was pretty unique.
I have to ask you, Kat, have you ever used the Jessie voice in public just to get a reaction? Like, that's all I would do. I wouldn't even be on the show right now. That's what I'd be doing right now.
Yes. Like I said, I love freaking people out about it. I was out with some girlfriends for dinner once, and they were like, you know, we were just having fun. I think I was already one drink in, not gonna lie. And then they were like, oh, do the voice. And the server came back, and I started to order my meal like this. And just, it was hilarious, because the server did not look like they were having a fun time at first. And then they're like, wait a minute. And I made them smile. So that made me smile.
I like it. It's like universal.
Gift.
I think that's
What a
great.
gift.
Susan, what has been the craziest reaction you've gotten from people when they realize you are the voice of Siri? It's somewhat intimate, your relationship with Siri, right? Like, what did they...
Yes, and I used to get so many emails and texts from people just saying, oh, I love you. I talk to you all the time.
Creepy.
I mean, well, you know, the feeling's not mutual. No.
I don't know you.
It's kind of strange, but people still, you know, like a little boy came up for Halloween and he said, someone said that you're Siri. And I said, yes, I am. And he said, you don't sound like Siri. And I said, how about now?
Whoa.
That's
and then
crazy.
That is crazy.
Susan and Kat, thank you so much for joining us today. What a treat. DBL Nation, Susan is available for all types of voiceover work through the Vox agency, and Kat Callahan is available on Cameo for personalized videos. How fun is that? We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anita Jefferson leaves home knowing her Tesla is fully powered thanks to the electric vehicle charger she has in her garage. When she hits the interstate, her confidence vanishes. When she searches for charging stations at interstate rest stops, they don't seem to exist.
The one place that you would want to travel and stop would be a state rest stop. I wanted to get an answer why they're not there.
Let's verify. Our sources are Natalie Dale with the Georgia Department of Transportation and the Federal Aid Highway Act. In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed legislation that opened the door to America's interstate highway system. The Federal Aid Highway Act calls for rest areas where drivers can find, quote, comfort, convenience, and relaxation. It also limits what can be sold at rest areas along an interstate's right-of-way. Federal law allows the sale of lottery tickets, books and DVDs that promote tourism, and vending machine items at rest areas. EV charging stations are not allowed.
You would be paying for that energy. That would count as a commercialized use of that right-of-way, and therefore not allowed under current federal regulation.
President Joe Biden's infrastructure bill provides $5 billion to help states place electric vehicle charging stations along interstates. Natalie Dale says Georgia is working on a plan, knowing rest areas are currently off limits.
How do we use these federal funds within the parameters that we have.
We can verify that yes, federal law does currently prohibit electric vehicle charging stations at rest areas along America's interstates.
Verified viewer Gina received this check in the mail for $2,900. There was also a letter welcoming her to a new job with the Cisco restaurant car wrap advertisement program. Gina thought she might be getting wrapped up in a scam and texted us to see if this is legit. So Gina, let's verify. Our sources are the Federal Trade Commission, the Expedited Funds Availability Act, the Better Business Bureau, AARP, Cisco, and Western Union. A fake check scam is when someone sends you a check, convinces you to deposit it, and then immediately send the money to someone else, typically in the form of a gift card, cryptocurrency, or wire transfer. The scammers are taking advantage of a law that requires banks to make the funds from check deposits that are less than $5,000 available within 3 business days for most accounts, even if the bank hasn't verified that the check is cleared. So if you sent money onto a scammer and the bank later finds out that the check was fake, you're on the hook to repay the bank. Even if you try and pocket the money, the bank will eventually remove the funds from your account and may also charge you a fee. So yes, scammers do send fake checks in the mail to trick people out of money. In Gina's case, we reached out to Cisco and they confirmed they don't have a program like this and that this is a scam, even though she hadn't yet been given instructions on who to pay to install the wrap. If you get a check like this in the mail that you suspect is a scam, don't cash it. Report it to the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and your state's Attorney General. With You Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. Do you want to boost the overall value of your house? A bathroom remodel is a great way to do just that. We're talking about in today's tips, sponsored by Jacuzzi. Renovating your bathroom improves daily enjoyment, hygiene, and the potential of resale. So some of the most effective bathroom remodel options you can consider for your house are simple, like painting the walls. You start and end every day in the bathroom, so upgrading your mirrors is another simple option that goes a long way. And finally, storage capabilities. You want to pick a vanity with lots of storage capabilities. If you want to start your remodel, Jacuzzi can help you do it the right way with a spa-like experience. Jacuzzi offers an unmatched, stress-free remodeling process. So visit jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 1-800-523-1523. I've got some big news. Before we go, it's time to announce the winner of our Sandals Trip getaway to beautiful Jamaica. Can I get a dribble? Congratulations to Janet Dunkerley from Lexington, Kentucky. Janet watches DBL on WLTX News 19. Janet, thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy the luxury vacation to Jamaica.
She has to send pictures.
And then I hope she does all the stuff like snorkel.
Yes. She has to make a video and then put it with the sandals thing.
That's it.
Yes, that's your job, then.
Janet, mazel tov. We'll see you tomorrow.
So cool.